The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, Levi Solicitors bring you this show. There's a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Michael Normanton.
It's not just 10%, not on everything. 15% on some things.
Such as
wills, conveyancing, lasting powers of attorney.
You still nearly said it, didn't you?
That's only till the end of October, though.
October, which year?
This year.
Because if somebody's watching, which year is this? Because if somebody's watching this in 2029 and they're going, wow, let's have a look back in the future. Back into the past, sorry.
Probably too late then. 2024.
Right. Thank you very much. Dean Smith's with us as well as we journey down Elland Road and reminisce about the smells that are wafting up. It's quite ironic that we're doing this at the minute because I can hardly smell anything because I'm full of cold. But it's all about theatre of the mind, isn't it? Theatre of the nostrils. The smells of Elland Road. So this might be informative for anybody who perhaps has been to a sports ground but hasn't visited Elland Road or is a regular at Elland Road and will go, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. What when you say, or you hear the word, sorry, the smells of Elland Road, what's the first one that comes to your mind? For me, it's frying onions.
100%. Same for me as well.
It's the first smell you get, for most people anyway, because whichever angle you're coming at the ground, you'll hit a burger van before you get to the actual stadium. And they've got quite a unique smell. I remember as a kid seeing the one on Lowfields, and it had the box of hot dogs was outside, and it was bragging on the box or something like it said 50% meat or something. I was like, what the fuck's the rest of it?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't show off about that. I always assumed it was 100% meat that was in this, but you know, whatever is in them, they keep selling.
For me, it's the same burger van. It's the Lowfields one, which is just by the roundabout before you go underneath the motorway, because we always parked on the Lowfields and then obviously walked to the stadium, and that was always the first smell that hit me, that still resonates with me now to this day. But I still have the same really visceral reaction, which is I can't believe anybody eats. And don't get me wrong, I love onions and I love fried onions. Don't even mind a hot dog every now and then. But I smell that smell and it makes my stomach turn every time. And I don't know if that's related to the nerves of being inside Elland Road or football, because I can't eat before football. I don't know about you.
I've never been a big eater at football, I have to say.
You do have quite a weak stomach, full stop, don't you?
This is true, yeah. I could quite feasibly shit myself during the first half if I have something dodgy from a burger van. But yeah, I must admit, I've never been. I mean, two things for me: the cost. You're talking a lot of money for a low quality item there. Generally, not to besmirch the good name of the street vendors, but they're not.
Don't ever go to Disneyland Paris. By the way,
it's not Wagyu beef, is it? It's not. You're not getting the premium burgers there. It's you're lucky if there's much beef ever in it. They're always really very cooked, which I suppose you want, in fairness.
You definitely want cooked,
but like to the point of dryness. I think I've had.
Do you go to a burger van and request it medium rare?
I don't think I once went to a burger. This is a complete diversion. I once went to a nightclub in Batley, and there was a burger van outside, and there were tinned burgers they were selling, which had the consistency of corned beef.
Oh wow!
Would not recommend. Absolutely vile.
Well, just on the cost of burgers around Elland Road as well, the burger vans that surround the ground are more expensive than the burgers in the ground, and this is because my very good friend Tom, he doesn't believe that we could possibly win a game at Elland Road if he doesn't have a burger. But he always assumed that outside the ground, with that beautiful fried onion smell, that would be the cheapest burger. So he's been buying them from the Lowfields for years and years and years. Then one day he was running late to the game, went into the ground. It's a full £1.50 cheaper inside the ground. So I don't know what kind of racket they're running. I think it's, I'm going to call it, I think it's some sort of cover up for drugs outside the ground.
That's a big claim.
I've got no, I don't.
What if it's a cover up for drugs inside the ground?
There we go. That's what it is.
Bigger claim.
Huge claim.
None of which is true.
None of which is
and
true.
It's just being used as a comedy device, Dean.
Yes.
Very much so.
Unless you want to level it at any particular van outside the ground and go, that one that parks here. And
could just be that their overheads are a bit bigger.
Yeah, or that they've got
better quality items.
Better quality items, captive market, people stomping down the streets there. But I think for me that fried onion smell goes with that sound as well, that sizzle sound. And then in the winter, you see the steam rising up off them. It's an all-around sensation that you see. All of the senses are involved when you're walking, especially through that Lowfields part of the stadium. But I will say that my first smell that I associate with Elland Road is horse shit, and I'll tell you for why. So
Thomas Brolin?
No. Me and my dad, whenever we go to Elland Road, we park down Brown Lane West, which is the road that runs parallel to the low fields. We park right down the bottom there, and then you walk via a little bit of like common ground, just a patch of grass basically on your way down to the roundabout over to Elland Road. And on that bit of grass, there was always a horse tied up. Whose it was, I don't know. Who its owner was, who its master was, I couldn't possibly speculate. But that horse had always inevitably done a lot of very busy work on that patch of grass. And so the first smell I always think of when walking to Elland Road before a game is that beautiful horse shit.
And it's often present when the police horses are there. Do you see police horses in the same volume as you used to? I don't know.
I'd say certain games you do, yeah.
Yeah, high-profile ones.
Yeah, they're
Is it just because
for...
we've been shit and therefore there are no high-category fixtures anymore?
No, because when Millwall or someone come, there's a horse per Millwall fan, I think, is the ratio that they insist upon.
Yeah.
So if necessary, they can all be swept up onto the back of it like fair maidens when taken to the police station.
Wow.
I believe that's how police horses work.
Yeah, so police horse shit, other random horse shit.
Yep.
I will say I've got a vague memory of driving. It might be when we were still doing the pod at Radio Air or something, but I parked in Holbeck and driving through the red light bit of it and seeing a sex worker feeding a horse that was tethered up and thinking, oh, that's nice. Just that she's kind of looking after the area, looking after the wildlife. Well, it's not really wildlife, is it? No. There are not wild horses in South Leeds.
You painted such a romantic vista.
Oh, it's lovely.
Of Holbeck.
The prairies of Holbeck. It's just absolutely amazing.
The naturally occurring specimens of Holbeck.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you're going to get onto smells, if you do park that side, maybe slightly less so now because the cars have cleaned up a bit, but the smell of the M621 as well, if you cross that, that's a nice, always a nice diesely sort of waft that you get from there.
Get all those particulates in your lungs.
Yeah, and I think particularly because if you're walking down, if you go over the footbridge and you walk down, there's always queuing traffic on there, so that's when you can really make the most of breathing and all that lovely fume. If older people might remember the classic days of leaded petrol when you could breathe in all the lead. That was nice as well. Some of us are still living with the damage that lead has caused.
It's not a very healthy experience just walking to a football ground, is it really?
Anyway, should we reminisce about the days when smoking was still allowed in football grounds?
Yeah, you forget about that, don't you? But then again, I started my nightclub career when that was still allowed for a few years, and then that stopped, and it actually weirdly killed nightclubs because that hazy, smoky atmosphere went, and everybody could see everybody, and it smelled of instead stale beer.
Oh, I was going to say bombs.
All right, yeah, and that, but again, which brings us back to Elland Road.
Indeed. Yeah, to stick on the burgers from the early days of the smell of burgers inside the ground, they were. Me and my dad always referred to them as fart burgers because if someone was eating one near, it just had the sort of hot meatiness you get of a Sunday afternoon when you've maybe had your roast dinner and there's a bit of cauliflowery waft in the air.
A little doze in the chair.
Yeah,
some emissions are escaping.
Yeah, there's just that smell to the in-ground burger. I don't know any more necessarily. I'm not kept up. Basically, as soon as Bates was in at Elland Road, I stopped buying anything in the ground.
Yeah.
So, well, I say as soon as Bates was in, a couple of years into Bates, when it was clear what he was doing, I was like, no, I'm not spending anything. I'm not buying pints there. I'm not buying food there. I'm not buying a water there. I will, if necessary, go on a 90-minute hunger strike, which has probably had limited impact.
I think if you've got someone eating a burger to your right, someone drinking a Bovril to your left, then you really get that surround sound of meat waft.
Bovril.
Yeah.
Now, Bovril is, we've discussed Bovril on these shows before.
Did live tasting.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah.
On something.
Hot, meaty drink. It's basically, it's cow paste with hot water in it. And it's quite nice.
It's all right, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's very salty.
When we tried it again, it is very salty, but it goes well with, when you're in a ground.
It could have been a bit thicker. But that was what I took from it. Because I think I'm looking to just drink actual gravy, which is disgusting, which would be disgusting.
Pint of gravy, please, barman. It's a very Yorkshire thing, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had Big Sam and still they didn't serve the pints of gravy.
That's true. Yeah, but there's that heady mixture within the stadium, and it's hard to define. But again, if you've been in any sports stadium, you'll know. But I feel like it bleeds from the walls of Elland Road to a certain extent. Yeah, stale beer. There's the farts to contribute in there. Sweat. We can't avoid sweat.
Yeah, particularly I'm thinking the worst ones for sweat smell would be an early in the season, midweek game when everyone's come straight from work and they've got a bit of an office hum about them as well, and you occasionally
And it's warm.
Yeah, it's warm. It's kind of still. It's been maybe 25 during the day. It's still 20 degrees as you're at Elland Road at night, and people have got a full day of sweat on them, and you're having to.
And then you
breathe
put on
that in.
a polyester replica shirt that is designed to make you externalize sweat.
Just wicking all that BO straight to the crowd.
And as well with the farts, like if you think about what we've just described, bad burgers, beer, those farts are not premium farts. These are not.
No.
These are going to take the fucking skin off your teeth. Like, these are not good things to be experiencing.
And it does waft across the stand sometimes, doesn't it? Very occasionally. It's not so bad in the east where I am, because I think particularly because they've increased the food offering. The standard of it is pretty good now, to the point where actually I've seen people carrying like the loaded fries around. And going,
it looks
do you know what? That looks appealing. I think last time I ate inside Elland Road would be when they had the Chinese outlet under the east stand. And I wouldn't mind like a little bit of a curry and chips and rice now and again.
That was definitely a smell from my earliest days at Elland Road, was the Chinese, because it's sort of out of place somehow. Somehow fried onions feels like it makes sense, whereas Chinese was the smell you should get when you're watching Gladiators on a Saturday night.
Right.
Specifically, I would say, which you can do again now, I suppose, if I really want to.
Nowadays in the East Stand, you can smell delicious pizza wafting around the place. That was never there in my childhood growing up and coming to Elland Road. And it still seems a little bit out of place because the pizza smells a little bit too good. I don't know about your experience in the East Stand, Dan, but whenever I'm in there, I think that actually smells quite tasty.
Yeah, they've started appealing to me because, like, you know, pizza is generally quite an appealing thing. And I look at them and go, do you know what? I could eat that, just not now.
I feel like it's only been in the past decade in England people have realised it's actually quite easy to cook a decent pizza. Like loads of pubs and stuff do it now, where they don't really do food, but they do pizzas, because you can just have like a oven going away in the corner, and it's just making some dough and chucking some cheese on it, and it's actually dead easy and nice.
And of course, you've been making brilliant pizzas for years. This is one of your skill sets that maybe the listeners don't know about.
I actually have been on the pizzas for a while. Yeah, this is true. This is true. And you're on it now, Dan, aren't you? Now you've got your Ninja.
Oh, big time. Big time. I'm not going to share my recipe. It's too good. But let's just say I've bought genuine Italian flour and semolina.
Is it 00 flour or something? Is it
Correct.
called? Yeah.
Yeah, and I proved my dough for 24 hours.
Yeah, good. I did have that once. I couldn't tell a huge amount of difference between that and just the strong bread flour from Aldi.
Right.
There you go. It's just a bit of a diversion there for cooking. Maybe
that's you all over.
Maybe the cookery spin-off is where we need to go.
It could be. Yeah, when all this collapses around our ears. But yeah, the pizzas do smell nice. One thing to address is piss. The toilets in Elland Road. Now, they're not the most salubrious of places, let's be honest.
Get your tackle tested, everyone.
A lot of that ground, you know, the newest part of the ground is over 30 years old now, the East Stand. And as we've said before, why the doorway into the toilets is a single doorway width? I've no idea.
It's the same, if you've never been in there, it's the same width as the door that goes into, like,
your bathroom at home.
Your bathroom.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they think filtering East Lowell's 10,000 people or something?
Yep.
It'd be great to just filter 10,000 people through a door of that size.
Let's be fair. There are 2 toilets there in the male toilet, so it's only 5,000 you need to get through. But the smell of the toilets at Elland Road, they're not too bad in the East Stand, but I know from going in other ones, they're not great. But you get the urinal cakes, obviously, that they put in the urinals. But there's also cigarette smoke as well when people are smoking in the toilets. Just the general reek of piss, because there's a lot of piss getting put in there.
Although the smoking has subsided, actually, because there was a time when smoking was banned pretty much everywhere, I think. Certainly within the internal space of Elland Road. But people would then...
Is that woke? Are we allowed to call it? Is that now woke?
Yes.
Right,
I liked passive smoking.
Right.
And anyone who says otherwise is a lefty.
I was the same in the nightclubs. I used to insist on breathing in cigarette smoke before I was able to play music.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, that was definitely more of a thing at a time. I feel like that's more or less gone now. Although now you do, of course, get it replaced with the sort of the pineapple, passion fruit, strawberry, vanilla whiff of vape.
Oh, right, okay, that's new.
Which is better.
Well, yeah, that's a new smell that occurs particularly in the South Stand. I've sat in the South Stand a few times over the last couple of seasons, and you'll be watching the game, and then this cloud will appear in front of you, and various different fruity smells will appear from it. And then you'll see someone stood 3-4 people away from you with something up their sleeve, just just being the most inconspicuous you've ever seen in your life.
Rebellious.
There was a news report yesterday I saw that they did some random testing on vapes and they found 1 in 6 contains spice.
Really?
Which made me think
You're going to take it up?
Might get into them now. I thought it was pointless before. But if they had a little je ne sais quoi to 1 in 6. Don't smoke spice.
Try not to do spice.
Back to the toilets though. I remember from a very early age going into the toilets, any toilets at Elland Road, and smelling that incredible deep piss smell of just thousands and thousands of dehydrated people, and always thinking it smells like piss from 1,000 years ago. It smells like historic, ancient, noble piss. It is the deepest smell of urine I've ever experienced. I've been to Glastonbury a million times in those long drops in the Portaloos. Elland Road piss, even more so than Wembley piss or other away grounds that I've been to. Elland Road piss feels like it's in the walls.
That's
almost.
because it is in the walls. And
Right.
They haven't painted them in years and they haven't cleaned them in years. So some of that is genuine title-winning piss still probably on those walls.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember going to like Barnsley in the 80s, and I'm fairly sure the Barnsley away toilets in the 80s were just a wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a piss against the
Barnsley
brick.
fanzine was called West Stand Bogs, wasn't it?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it speaks to the general, I'm guessing that's a home end, but it speaks to the general standard of toilets at Barnsley. York's old stadium as well in the away end there, that was a bit of, it had what was clearly just like a bit of gutter on a wall, and that was the toilet, and it had no roof on it either.
Yeah.
That's the danger with that is because it's kind of a standard non-league toilet. Very cold day there. You can actually feel the steam of the piss rising into your own face, which is quite
I
disgusting.
mean, normally you've got to pay for that, haven't you?
Put it got to get a pan on.
Reabsorbing it into your eyes.
Yeah.
What's your favourite smell at Elland Road? Is there a good one?
No.
Is it the smell of success?
No. It's all too rare. The smell of, it's weird actually, considering it's an outdoor space, how long the smell of a fart can hang around. And like everyone will have been in this situation. People drink a lot of football, they eat badly, and then they're in front of you, to the side of you. It's often speculation as to who's doing it. But you'll get a game where people are turning to each other and going, "Fucking hell, who's that?"
Is that you?
And if you don't know who it is, it might be you. Maybe they're slipping out.
Right.
But yeah, the amount of time that can hang around for in a drafty outdoor space is remarkable.
I was going to say this about Elland Road. For anybody who's not been, there's a weird little microclimate at Elland Road, which renders it probably at times 5 degrees colder than anywhere else surrounding it. And it's because the wind swirls. There are weird little eddies and currents of air that I think trap the farts.
See, I'm towards the back of the cop. I think it's generally pretty warm up there,
Right.
I have to say.
Well, I think maybe as
It's
well.
the farts, though.
It's the farts, and it's maybe people just crop dusting. So they're walking up the steps to their seat and just letting go at every step, just to make sure that everybody gets that full Elland Road experience.
It's worth it. It's worth to thank you to those people for providing it.
I do have a favourite smell, and it's only very rarely, and it's always in winter games. And it's that cold metallic smell of all of the handrails and the turnstiles as you're going in. It feels exciting. Football's a winter sport, so it feels like, right, we're back, and you've forgotten your fucking gloves and you're touching everything and your hands smell of metal. And that just reminds me of being a kid and going into Elland Road and everything feeling so big and exciting. And that's my favourite smell when you walk in there, the cold metal. Doesn't sound very appealing, does it? But I promise it's nice.
And finally, then, it would be wrong of us to end this show without mentioning your favourite hangout, the Lowfields Tunnel.
It does stink. Let's just get that out of the way first of all.
Which is, the Lowfields Tunnel is a motorway underpass as well, because the M621 runs alongside the north side of the ground, and it's a tunnel of a couple of 100 feet.
Yeah, and it's not very high, so it's quite a tight space. There's a lot of people in there sometimes, and it is a pretty consistent smell of piss in there, if we're perfectly honest. But I turn up showered for the most part.
Right.
Maybe in some of my younger years I was turning up a bit more hungover and stinking, but these days, nearly always, I'm fresh.
She's civilised you, hasn't she?
I brush my teeth.
Yeah.
I've had a wash, and I turn up. What a waste of time, because it just stinks. And like when I'm putting the boxes down at the end of the tunnel, the closer your face gets to the floor, the more you realise it stinks of piss absolutely everywhere. So that's the most consistent smell. But at various points, someone had burnt a car out in there. It was all, the ceiling of it went all sooty for a bit, and that smelt just like burn for a bit, which was nice.
Just smells of burn.
Just smells of burn. Like, I suppose when you burn a car, it's like a bit of rubber, some diesel or whatever has been in there, some plastics have burned. Lovely, really, really good for your stuff.
All the good ones, yeah. The big three.
The big three, yeah. The rubber, the plastic, the fuel, yeah. All lovely stuff. And occasionally you'll get police motorbikes going under it too, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Because they obviously leave a bit of, again, some more nice fumes for you to breathe in.
Yeah, so you're getting fumes from above, fumes from below.
And it's always a bit damp in there as well.
Yeah.
People trudging through that nice rain smell that comes in just to try and counteract the piss and the fuel and the burn.
In terms of breathing stuff in there, actually, when we returned from COVID, but do you remember the club were doing those checks where you had to show your little, feels like about 100 years ago, that's when you had to show your little QR code to show you did the 5G vaccines and all that sort of stuff. But
that's us blacklisted on YouTube now.
It's honestly interesting numbers on it. You run the numbers on it.
Stop it.
But the club remarkably managed to make a dangerous situation out of checking vaccine codes by putting the checkpoint at the end of the Lowfields tunnel, which meant that the one enclosed space outside Elland Road, at a time when you're avoiding enclosed spaces, they managed to fit like 1,000 people in the Lowfields tunnel for 10 minutes at a time. You just have to slowly shuffle your way through it. And so congratulations to them for helping to spread COVID at a time when people were just being allowed back out into the world again.
And basically subjecting them to the smell of piss.
Yeah, good. I suppose the deadly virus was a bit of a welcome distraction from the smell of piss for a brief period.
And that's the end of the piss cast. We'll catch you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.